The very thought of the very first Kentucky Derby winner being buried here, to me, that's monumental in and of itself. We should take an active leadership role in terms of telling the story and being committed to the stories that are buried here in African Cemetery Number 2. There's a lot of prominent people, but most notably horsemen of the 19th century, early 19th century, are buried here. Your very first Kentucky Derby winner, 19-year-old Oliver Lewis, his remains are still here. James Sue Perkins, who was one of the youngest Kentucky Derby winners, is buried here. The great Isaac Murphy, at one point, he was buried here. A lot of us, we think about the fashion of the Kentucky Derby. That's Isaac Murphy. Isaac's, imprint on the fashion of that particular race, that was his culture. Isaac, whenever he raced at any of the tracks, it was like going to see Michael Jordan in his heyday. A lot of these guys were babies. They were 12, 11, 13-year-old boys when they started, and their role being on the backs of an 1,100-pound animal, and they moved an industry forward to being one of the dominant industries in the world. These guys, they were making quite a bit of money. They were skilled at their profession. They were very dedicated to their profession. When the Ku Klux Klan swept into Kentucky and made it an impact of their reign of fear and intimidation that eradicated that talent pool, I think we could learn a lesson in terms of when you segregate, you lose the respective talent, the contributions of humankind. But I also often wonder, what would the sport look like had they not been so impacted by Jim Crow laws? You look at horse racing today, and it really is an afterthought outside of the major, Grade 1 races. The African-American community, we were a very thriving, committed fan base. Whenever Isaac Murphy was riding, or James Sue Perkins, or any of them, the community came out. When I walk around here at these hallowed grounds, I think about, the sacrifice, the contributions, the effort and the legacy that they left. You're also met with a little bit of sadness, because you think of what they experienced in their lifetime and how they were forced out. Here we are hundreds of years later, and you see some of that coming back in today's times. And with that said, I think, you get a sense of kind of understanding what it must have been like for them.